Welcome to Queer Spirituality, the podcast. I'm your host, Julian Crosson-Hill. This podcast is about an idea. It's the radical idea that queerness is a gift and that the divine celebrates it rather than merely accepts it. We'll explore the special role that queer people are meant to play in the coming spiritual awakening. Through the lives and stories of queer people, we'll explore the many ways of approaching the divine and how the sacred reveals itself in everyday actions. Most of all, this is a podcast about love. It's about the love of the universe, it's about love between people, and it's about the love a community can share with one another. Thank you for joining me. Hi, and welcome to Queer Spirituality, the podcast. I'm your host, Julian Crosson-Hill, and today I have with me a very special guest, David Wood. David Wood is a third-degree high priest and clan head within the Sacred Order of the Black Forest. He is a Reiki, Hoodoo, and Spiritism practitioner. He is soon opening a new witchery where he will sell his magical oil blends and other handmade items. David currently teaches and presides over the Black Forest clan of the Black Leopard with 4 covens currently under his leadership. He's a pagan recording artist with 8 CDs to date and has interviewed many known pagan celebrities in his time with radio and can be found at www.davidwoodmusic.com. Welcome to the show, David.
Hi, thank you.
Lots of things just in your bio that I kind of want to talk about, but just, since we are talking mostly about queer spirituality here to start off right away, what does queer spirituality mean to you?
It means that I'm queer and I'm spiritual. It's a topic that somebody like me, I'm only speaking for myself here. I don't really put that much stock into it because I am who I am, and within the spiritual groups that I'm drawn to, I've always been welcome and accepted. So I've never really taken a hard line one way or the other. I just practice what I like and what feels comfortable to me, and I'm totally fine whether I'm gay or not. I'm pretty old school, so I don't know a lot of the new terminology you'll find, in today's culture of gay men. I'm pretty old school, but I guess I'm cognizant of it. But it's just I practice what I practice. I'm accepted where I go, and I'm pretty happy as far as being a pagan gay man.
Yeah. So you hit on something there that's kind of interesting to me too, because, as someone in my 50s, when I went to school, we had a gay, bisexual, and lesbian student union. And, now there's so much more included in that. We've got queer, we've got trans, we've got non-binary, asexual, we've got all these different labels. And so I'm glad to hear someone else sometimes has a little trouble keeping up with it, or just is sort of like, okay, I'm still learning these terms, because, as much as I try to educate myself and make sure that I'm showing respect to people and all of that, it's a lot to keep up with.
It is. And it's great. I mean, I celebrate it with everybody. However, it wasn't that way when you and I were growing up and becoming an adult very early.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think it's really positive that we have this, because for us, you had to fit into one of, you were straight, you were gay, you were bi, or you're lesbian, and there wasn't really any other spectrum.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So what's it been like being queer in the music industry?
Oh boy. That's a double-edged sword right there. when I first started out, there were there were individuals within the record business who wanted to take advantage of that fact that I was gay.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that they were gay, or not that I thought of back then. They wanted to take advantage merely for the sake of power.
Mm-hmm.
And put you in a spot that you've always heard of the Me Too movement and stuff like that. Gay men have the Me Too movement as well. And things did happen. People did force themselves on me. And then there were other times where, I'll be honest, I took action and tried to use that to get myself places as well. So I can't really blame, if that makes sense. There were times when things happened that I did not want to happen and damaged me very badly. However, did I seek out to do things like that as well for my own benefit? Yes, I did.
Yeah. And
so that's what being gay in the music business is sort of like, before there really was a pagan music industry, so to speak.
right. Because I know you started more in mainstream music and then transitioned into pagan. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what's sort of the biggest challenges being a queer pagan recording artist?
I've not had any.
Wow. That's great.
That's wonderful, because it really happened at a later time than when my striving for the regular music business started.
Okay.
So we're talking. I came from Kentucky, a small little town back, and I got started in the music business as to what I wanted. Back probably late 80s, early 90s.
Wow.
And went everywhere. And that's when, of course, what I just mentioned, the trouble started, yeah. Wow. It's just been some time. I'm sitting here taken aback a little bit, because I'm like, wow, that was a long time ago. And things have most definitely changed. I'm going to say for the better. But I mean, Michael Lloyd, if I can bring him up, he was talking about in his book, Bowl of Heaven, about how gay men were not treated well in the craft.
Right.
And I've never had that experience. I was always accepted because I think I started in the craft, as far as a tradition goes, in 1997. I was solitary before then, as of 1987. So I've never really had the problems that some people have had in the craft being gay.
Great. That's wonderful. I mean, I haven't experienced it myself. And, I've even been in some of the ceremonial magic orders, but I know a lot of people have even experienced that in the OTO and some of the other groups as well.
That's what I've heard. Yes.
Yeah. Even recently, which is really kind of surprising. So you mentioned that you grew up in a small town of Kentucky. So, obviously coming out is somewhat of an easier process for kids today than it was for our generation. So what was it like coming of age as a queer person in a small town?
I didn't know. I think I had a big lustful attraction to Billy Idol back in the day. I would sit and play his albums and look at the posters and sigh, and I really didn't get it then until I met my first partner, who happened to be a radio DJ. That was not strive for, but a very popular radio DJ in my little town. And he was most definitely gay, as it turns out. He was following me at the same time I was following him. And there you go. I got a lot of advice there and a lot of, things like that. I think he may have hooked me up with some people, not in a bad way, but with some people who were looking for new artists. et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I ended up leaving Kentucky right around 1990, 89, 90. Coming out, I ended up not coming out to my mother. My father was never around. I didn't come out to my mother until years later, when I was going and trying to land production gigs where I was mixing live performances and doing things like that, because I had went to school as well to learn these things, and I wanted to put them to use. And there was that, plus trying to get back to Kentucky to see the first partner. And it just, that was not working. That was me living a very young, youthful dream of thinking I could keep a partner forever, during that type of thing. And that didn't work out. So I was emotionally messed up over that. And my mother was like, "Are you on drugs?" That was the first thing she asked me. I rarely drank at that point. And I said, "No, why would you ask me that?" She's like, "Things aren't right. You're not right. You're emotional. You don't, you're upset all the time. And I thought you were doing good." And during this whole conversation, I ended up telling her, "Look, Ted and I are not just friends. You've walked in on us before, for crying out loud, and you've said nothing, and I'm gay." And there it is. And she cried. "Well, there go the grandchildren." That's the only thing she said. So she's gotten used to it now, and there's no problem whatsoever.
Great. That's wonderful. A lot of people experience so much bullying because it seems like all the other kids knew before they were. So,
right. My mother's always loved me. I'm very thankful of that. She's never been overtly religious in any way whatsoever. So,
yeah, that's really helpful when you have supportive parents. My mother had no issue when I came out either, so she was very accepting. But I did get bullied a lot in school, like from a very young age. Like before I even had any idea what queer was, I was getting bullied and called faggot and things like that in school.
Yes. Every single day I would have it. And if I was trying to date a girl just to save face or what have you, I would get bullied because they were jealous. It was one way or the other. And finally, before I did leave Kentucky, here came a truck full of guys as I was going into a post office. And I was trying to make that decision. Do I stay here with this my first partner, or do I leave and try to do something, that I really want to do? And "Hey, faggot." That's what they said to me, was, "Hey, faggot, you look all pretty. You ought to be on TV." And I stopped dead in my tracks. And I turned around, looked at him, and I said, "Thank you. That's exactly what I'm going to do." And I left. I did. I started making arrangements and all that, and I took off.
That's great. That's a wonderful story. Great to see a bully actually like validating what we want to do with our lives.
Right. It was the strangest thing in the world to just stop in your tracks. And I did. It's, I wouldn't over exaggerate. I was just like, there's my sign.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of your spirituality, you just kind of are primarily involved in the craft, and you don't really like think about it as queer spirituality, other than the fact that you identify as queer, but otherwise it's just regular Wicca, and you're just kind of practicing with a group of whoever. It doesn't matter if they're straight, gay, bi, whatever. So
right. However, I realize that it's not different for me than it is for a lot of other people who've experienced bad things or what have you. Quote Michael Lloyd's book again. And it's just like, when I was reading that, I thought, wow, Gardner, who people praise and thank for the craft every day, he did not appreciate gay men at all.
No,
not the time of day. Not the time of day. And I'm part Gardnerian. So Go figure, hey, Gardner.
Right. So does, in terms of your experience of the divine, like being queer, do you find a stronger affinity for the god or the goddess or a particular concept of the divine?
It was always equal for me, and I see more of an all, similar to the Kabbalion,
Yep.
as an all rather than a primary focused Lord and Lady, if you will.
Yeah.
I do take on Hecate and the Morrigan, and I also deal with Pan, and depending on the mood you're in, but I understand deep down and underneath that it's all one. There is one force flowing through all living things, and it's which aspect of the jewel you choose to pick that day or are looking at. So in a nutshell, that's, to me, that's what it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of a Buddhist, like everything's kind of all one, and there's a
Right.
lot of traditions that look at that, and the whole thing is about the illusion of separateness, that we have this illusion that we're all separate when we're all really one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. I will say to you, and I don't know if this was a after marijuana thing or what have you, but it truly is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a human design specialist, and we even teach that in human design, the magnetic monopole in your design like creates the illusion of separation by holding like your design and your personality crystal together. By holding your consciousness in your form, it like creates that illusion. So yeah, pretty cool. So what's your relationship like with the queer community?
Oh boy. Well, I'm a little bit older. I'm 52, going to be 53 this year. And it used to be all the time. It was all the time, every day and night, being in the queer community. I trying to be a artist, recording artist, and sort of, if you will, quote, quote, star myself. I didn't fit in with the gay choir type things in the city I'm in. They didn't like me and I didn't like them. I don't know if that's totally true, but that's the feeling I got. I always did what I wanted to do. And this community, I hear gay men talk about it and then treasure it at the same time. It can be good if you are in the mindset to take it to a positive and good place. I was not. I'd had a whole lot of things happen to me in the queer community that were not good or tasteful. And I don't go out and be a part of the queer community any longer, because we're in the day and age now, like I've said before, excuse me, where straight individuals don't treat you any differently.
Yeah.
I'm not hanging out in the country part of the world any longer. I'm in the city, and a lot of people that my partner have around and that have met me and as well, they don't judge us. They never even think to. So it's not a bad atmosphere like it used to be. Do I carry those negative experiences within me? Yes, I do. And that's where I started crossing over into a lot of mindfulness study and Buddhist practices. Not that I know enough about it to consider myself such, but it's where I've been finding peace, sort of taming the beast that's in me, the rage, because I've had it built up over and over again, certain animosities within the community, within industries and things like that, to where it's like, this is eating me alive.
Sure. Yeah.
I have to fix this.
Yeah. You're definitely not the first person that I've heard that just has had really negative experiences of being in queer space and around queer people. And, while I have too. I still kind of have hope for the community, but I've definitely encountered my toxic people in the community as well. So with that in mind, like thinking about the queer community and a lot of the toxic behavior that's in the community, if we could overcome those kinds of things, what do you think is the greatest missed potential in the queer community?
The greatest potential?
Yeah.
I think it's coming. I think we're all in danger. Especially after the Roe versus Wade turnaround that we're having currently at this moment. We're next. We are. And I think a lot of people that really don't know, like Julian, like between you and I, we had to fight back in our day. We thought we had it good then too, though.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because we never really had to fight as hard as our predecessors did. But we still had to fight our way through a lot of things.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember the AIDS epidemic and having to just fight for people to get care. So
correct. And but today, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but there's a lot of people who are just, I'm going to say gee. That's just my expression, whereas, well, they've never had to deal with what we've had to deal with, and they should be appreciative. That doesn't mean to dwell on it. It just means show some respect. And I feel like that's not out there any longer.
Yeah. There's definitely, like, ageism has definitely eroded that respect for our queer elders that we used to have, because I know I used to hang out. I always enjoyed the company of older people when I was young. I always kind of saw myself as an old soul and didn't really like hanging out with people my own age anyway.
I'm the same.
But, there were definitely a lot more of respect towards the older gays. And of course, there was more friendships and tight-knit friendships between younger gays and older gays without there being this like, oh, they're trying to hit on me, or, that kind of thing that happens now. Because now, like, you say hi to a younger person and it's automatically assumed you're trying to get in their pants.
Even if you say hello. Yes.
Yeah. Even if you say hello, like something as innocent as hello. Yeah. And, and it's kind of sad because there's a whole generation of gays that they didn't have elders because they all died from AIDS. We lost an entire generation. And so this generation,
and I think that's probably part of what happened.
Yeah. And this generation now, it doesn't understand that some of us who went before that remember, like, our history is important. And we know that history repeats itself, and the people who don't learn from history end up repeating it. And so all these fights that we've had for our rights and for things like care and research dollars for AIDS, all of that, it repeats. And we need to always be vigilant and be ready. And, the greatest thing we can have is unity. And of course, we have all these toxic behaviors sort of driving a wedge between us all. So
they say what you don't learn keeps getting repeated, right?
Right. Exactly. So I want to kind of ask you about, you have a song called King Bitch. And I'm kind of curious about that because, there's that sort of this stereotype of gay men as bitchy. And, there's this whole, like, in some places, I've seen it go to toxic lengths of like bitchiness towards one another in the community. So I just was kind of curious, like, how do you think that song kind of,
that's what that song's about. That's what that song's about. And the reason it came up is I had an experience with a record promoter, and sitting there just all, as I walked in the door, my partner at the time was my manager and did all kinds of abusive things to me as well, but got me in the door to this person, and he was listening to some music of mine, and he looked up over his glasses at me as I walked in the room, and he said, "Go eat a steak and come back." I was very thin. And I said, "Excuse me?" He's like, waved his hand. He's like, go on. everything like that. And I said, excuse me, you're sitting there like listening to my music, despite what I look like or what you think I look like. Can you at least give me some critique on that? Could you tell me what's going on in your head when you hear my music or what have you? And he said, well, you're just a little bitch.
Wow.
And I'm like, all I did was ask a question. And, and I thought it just reacted. And the only thing, because gay men more than anyone are prepared for a good comeback. You know that as well as I do. I said, no, I'm king bitch. Now, I didn't think about that until all these years later, trying to get in to control my emotions and that rage that was in me. And it was sort of funny because everything I brought up in that song are things that happened. If you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's like, yeah, you're damn right, I'm king bitch. But it's in defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is in defense. And if I don't have to do it, I won't. Now, there's some people who make it a part of their character.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Not me. That's not me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what King Bitch was about, if you really listen to it.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. There's definitely people that make that part of their persona, but then at the same time, you've got people who've sort of like put on the mask of toxic masculinity, and it's like so butch and so like just play acting this idea of like the Marlboro man or something insane. And it's just kind of crazy. Like, I'm like, can we just be ourselves here? Like, come on, guys. Like,
correct. Now, I think that sometimes people are taking on a sexual role of the Marlboro man or the what have you. That's fine. I don't care. It's not for me to care or not care. Whatever you want to do, however you want to dress, that's perfect. But when you come in and you're acting a certain way to everyone in the room, it's a little tiresome.
Yeah. And it to me, it's kind of sad too, because I've known people in the gay community. I've known people and they've seen them at various times in their evolution, kind of putting on different costumes and these different personas. And I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be great if you could just show up and be yourself and believe that people would like and respect and love you for that?
I just had a reading no more than a week ago where someone said that to me, just out of the blue.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm like, you're right. Because there is a persona, how do I want to look at this show? How do I want to do that? Whatever. And I don't know. It's just very strange how not only do you act a little different, but people treat you like you're different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talk about that a lot in human design about projection fields. And,
correct.
I've been a leader in the spiritual community for a while. And, as a spiritual life coach, people project a certain image on me of what I should be like. And, as a performer, obviously people are projecting a certain image on you as well. And it's important that we separate ourselves from that projection so that we can be ourselves. So that was kind of my next question. I was going to ask about, trying to relate in the queer community or any community. How do you sort of stop being the person that you're being as a performer? Because, I just did a video a little while ago on my Instagram about human design people who read celebrity charts and talk about their design. And I'm like, how do you talk about somebody's design that you don't see their private side? Like, you don't know who they authentically are. You just know the mask they're putting on. And I think that's true of all performers to an extent. They have a personal side and a very private personal side, and then they have their public persona.
Well, I think I'm going to ask you, how would you ask that to a drag performer?
Oh, that's, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, there's definitely like, how does a drag performer, next time I talk to a drag performer, I'm going to ask them, how do you like,
right?
How do you hang that up in the closet?
I think we're all sort of the same in a lot of ways, because, when you put on that dress and the wig, you're no different than I getting up and singing a song or whatever. It just depends on how far I want. You know what? Performing can be an escape. You do get to be that David Wood or that RuPaul, for the lack of a better name that pops into my head, or what have you. You get to be that person for a few hours.
Mm.
And then you get to take off that and go and be yourself in every day where most people don't even know you. I've not achieved mainstream levels of success as I always wanted. I tend to think now at this day and time that I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother even sat me down and talked to me about that years and years ago. She said, "You're starting to go places.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize that?" And I said, "Well, it's what I've always wanted." She's like, "You better be prepared. You're not going to be able to go to the store and pick up this or pick up that. You're not going to be able to go through a drive-through and get a burger or what have you. You're just not."
Mm-hmm.
And she sat me down and warned me that years ago, and I sort of poo-pooed it,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And thinking about it, and you just asking that, I'm just sort of like, people do see what they want to see within you.
Mm-hmm.
People who want to see that king bitch or that bitchy person want to see that.
Yeah.
Until you react, because you're so tired of them going on about it or treating you a different way or whatever, that you end up being that person they want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it does. I was going to ask, like, is it hard to stop being the performer and being like the real David Wood?
It's not for me, because I know who I really am now at this age.
Mm-hmm.
However, being younger, it was difficult because I wanted everybody to know what I did and who I was.
Yeah.
And that was something I had worked so hard for.
Yeah.
Worked so hard to the point that personality does take over.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up hurt by the end of the night because you've not been accepted like somebody else would say, "Hey, come over and talk to us."
Mm-hmm.
Or, "Hey, come over and do this." You are different, so they exclude you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's true. And that does hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in your bio, you mentioned that you were setting up a witchery. Tell me a little bit more about that project, David.
I had set it up before. I love making conjure oils and nice scented oils to wear or to do magic with. I love doing that. That's my niche. And I've been wanting to do it. At the same time, every time I think about bringing that back for myself, the music starts taking over. So one thing, the music always takes over. So apparently that's what I'm supposed to keep doing.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to, certain seasons have the music out. As soon as the music's out, I'm going to go take my break and do my oils and occult materials that me and my partner are great at making, and try that for a little while. So tried it before, it went well, and then it sort of died out and the music started taking over again. So like I said, when you sort of make an oath with the gods when you want to be something you've always desired since you were a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's an internal thing. It's not an outward. I hear ye. I ask you to hear me. It's almost like a hunger that you will do anything for this thing, and spirit takes that as words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I call it spirit, the one, what have you.
Yeah, sure.
But they hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, anything else, you may get bored with one thing and try to do something else that's successful. And it's like reality tends to come back to that one thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's like it's your soul mission. It's like, this is what I'm here to do. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah.
And I'm working on the music again now.
Are you? Great.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So we'll have a new album coming soon then?
Hopefully. Because
Hopefully.
now, and once I start to work on new music, the performances start coming. So
Right.
it's all like a tidal wave. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. 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 Now you're also doing all of this recording and writing music and traveling, performing, and all of this while you're also working at another job. Is that correct?
I have had a day job for going on 25 years.
Wow. And how do
And
you find the time and balance that?
it's been hard. It's been difficult. The past few years, I'm going to be honest. Remember when I mentioned to you I need to get a grip on this rage and these things that have happened to me and what have you? Well, my partner came into my life 2 to 3 years ago. I'm probably misquoting that, so forgive me. And I never thought I was going to have a partner.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't possible. It just was not for me. That's what I wanted more than anything. And now we've been together and we're going strong and it's been great. So I have a good person to talk to in my life that I can bounce things off of, if you will. And he loves to see me perform. Mm-hmm. And keeps encouraging me to do it. And I'm like, I'm tired. You don't understand. It takes me 2 or 3 years to make a comeback. And I am that way. I tend to take a good relaxing spell after I've been traveling a lot and writing a lot of music. And it's past time. COVID interfered with that as well.
Yeah.
God knows I have the quarantine weight added back onto me. I need to get rid of.
Don't we all?
Now I'm being totally vain.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's important to have people that support you in what you do and that, love you and support you. I couldn't do what I do without Neil. My husband, Neil, keeps,
right.
Stays home, keeps house, cooks our meals, takes care of the pets, even does all the annoying scheduling doctor's appointments, calling customer service, does all of that stuff and keeps the home fires burning when I'm traveling and just does all of that. And it's I don't know how I would find time to do all the things that I do as my spiritual work if I didn't have him helping me and supporting me and doing that. So it's great that you've found that as well.
My partner is a witch as well, and he does readings and he does all kinds of things. So we're both sort of bouncing off of each other.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You inspire each other.
Right.
Yeah, great. Well, what else, before we sort of wrap up, is there anything else you'd really like to share with the listeners?
Something popped into my head as I was sitting down, getting ready to log on and have this interview with you.
Okay.
And you're talking about different, you had mentioned at the beginning of the program here about how do I see the community or how do I reflect off. And I didn't know a lot. I'm old school and I don't know a lot about the new terminology and what have you, the new titles and things like that. It reminded me that I used to do all the makeup, like Duran Duran, and do great heavy eyeliner and all that when I would do photos and appearances and stuff. And I'm like, today they would call that cisgendered.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I would use the phrase cisgendered for myself today because it's a totally different perspective, I think.
I think you mean non-binary because cisgender just means that your gender is the same as your sex that you were born.
Okay, well, see, I don't know. There you go, prime example. So don't be, I just now got the transgendered terminology and stuff down, and I love transgendered friends that I've met and that I'm friends with and what have you, but I didn't understand some of the terminology, not as being that way or what have you, but just not understanding what I should say, what I shouldn't say, and blah blah blah. And there is a perfect example.
Yeah. Well, the transgender thing is interesting because I've had to kind of educate myself a lot on it as well,
Hmm.
because it was so much harder for people to be transgendered when we grew up. And fortunately, it's still very difficult to be trans in today's world, and particularly trans women are murdered at an alarming rate. But we
It's
have removed a
amazing.
lot of the obstacles. We just have a lot more work to do. And it's sad that sometimes certain parts of the queer community don't want to, now that they've gotten their thing, they've gotten gay marriage, they aren't as interested in continuing to work for the rest of the community to have equality. So,
Well, I
um,
see the other side of that as well, because now that everybody doesn't have to try to fight all the time, they have more time to focus on, let's talk about you. What makes you the way you are?
mm,
What does transgender involve? There's more time to learn than it is to protect yourself every day of the week.
yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's a great
Hmm.
perspective. Yeah, great. Anything else you want to say as like final comments?
Well, I'll give myself a shameless plug. Go
Yep.
go go see, go listen to my music, see my videos, what have you, at davidwoodmusic.com. It's
All
only
right.
wood, no S. You only need wood. Okay. So it's davidwoodmusic.com. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And you're on Spotify as well, I believe, right?
I am everywhere you download or stream music.
Thank you for being on the show, David. Everyone, that was David Wood, and go see him perform, go download and listen to his music. Again, you can find him at www.davidwoodmusic.com. You can find my blog and past episodes of this podcast at www.queerspirituality.net. That's www.queerspirituality.net. Let me know what you think on Instagram at queer_spirituality, or continue the discussion with like-minded people in the Queer Spirituality Facebook group. You can find it linked from the Queer Spirituality Facebook page or on the homepage of the Queer Spirituality website. Bright blessings.